Howdy.
Good evening. Okay. Um, I think let's go to page 151. It's about Pesach.
Okay. Pesach me'Aviv.
Hitwachuta Pesach me'Aviv. Pesach is getting more and more distant from spring. This is a big problem in the Jewish calendar, which will be a problem in several hundred years. It's already been a problem, but it's going to be more and more of a problem. So kol hakunos העברי מכוונים לכם מצוות התורה והחוגס הפסח בחודש אביב וסוכות בחודש האסיף. כמו שאומר, פסח חג מצות תשמור 17 מתוכם מצות כאשר ציוויסיך למועד חודש אביב, שמור את חודש אביב ועשית פסח. So Pesach has to be in the spring. הסוכות חג עשית בצי שנה בסוכות מעשר מן הסלב, וחג סוכות 17 בסוכות מקרנך מקלך. Sukkot must be in the fall. Okay? That's why we adjust our lulach, not like the Muslims, in order to get Pesach to be in the spring and Sukkot in the fall. In order to be able to make up this Pesach in the spring and Sukkot in the fall, we can't go by the simple months. That the average Jewish year must be a solar year. Because all of the changes of seasons, as we say, have to do with the orbit of the Earth around the sun. 365 ימים, כמעט 6 שעות, which is about 365 days and 6 hours. כיוון ש12 חודשי הירח קצרים בשיעור של כ11 יום ממידה של שנה שמשית, because the average lunar year is only 354 days, 11 days shorter. מעברים את השנה, we make leap years every so often. עושים מחודש לשנה, בכל 3 שנים או שנתיים. We add every 3 or 2 years a leap year. הבעיה because חסימת הלוח והזכתשוסו לדורות. The problem which came about as a result of the signing off of the Lulach and its sanctification for all generations. But in the early years, they used to do it based on the sighting of the moon. And they made leap years based on the science of spring. There was a scientific science of spring, and based on the Tkufa, which was the season, which is an independent cheshbon, which we went through in the past few pages, which we haven't seen yet. The principles for leap years were flexible. And they allowed the Chachamim to do the leap year as above Shamar's Chodesh Aviv. Even after the determination to make it based on reckoning, they would use the precise data which they had at the time, obviously, which developed over time. But once it became publicized, presumably around the time of Sinai Gaon, there was no longer any wiggle room for, doing adding or detracting at all. This is his interpretation. This is not necessarily what happened historically. We don't know. But he's surmising that the principles which were once could be kept flexible by the intervention of Rachamim, now they became publicized and codified and could not be flexible at all. Okay? So that's what he's saying. Once it became the legacy of the entire nation, can't fix them in even the slightest way. Okay? Why is Pesach more distant spring? shiur shall the 6.5 So if you take the entire 19-year cycle, the entire 247-year cycle of Nachshon going, so then the average lunar year is actually the average Jewish year, sorry, is 6.5 minutes longer than the actual solar year. Okay, averaged out over time. We phrase them, it's the 4.5 days because of Shana. So the gap keeps on opening up, right? The Jewish calendar keeps getting ahead of the regular solar calendar by 4.5 days every 1,000 years. Okay? Midas Shana Chavdas Kama, the Lelach Ivri, 365 hour solar year, so to speak, 365 days, 5 hours, 977, and how much?
19th.
From 19th Chalakim, Absitrol is divided by 19 years, which are 365 days, 5 hours, 55 minutes, and about 25.5 seconds. The solar year based on science is 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds approximately. That means it's 6 minutes and 39.5 seconds every year. So according to this, Pesach is getting further away from Chodesh Aviv, with a shiur of 1 day every 218 years. And we will see that we can see this in the table, which I guess is not on this page, some other page. So is
Pesach getting later or earlier?
What?
Pesach is getting later.
Pesach getting later, right? So Pesach getting later is a problem because the Pesach getting later is a problem because here's another story. Let me see. Close to read Yom HaShivyon Avivi. Some economics. Yom Kuvas Nisan astronomy. Maschil. No, Pesach's getting earlier. It's getting earlier.
Okay.
It's counterintuitive. It's getting earlier.
Right. If the Jewish year is longer, so that means that January, the solar year starts earlier and earlier in each Jewish year.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so it's always set in the notes of Gregorian year. Ben 21 March, Ben 23, but be a main of 21 March. Please say Chodesh Aviv Astronomy Tzurich Lachol Tesvav Nisan. Al Shepesach who Ben 21 March, 21st April via Chodesh Lelach Georgiani. Okay, so Pesach. What?
Well, isn't this the Gregorian calendar?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the Gregorian calendar is helpful because according to the Julian calendar, Pesach often already comes out in the winter. But according to the Gregorian calendar, we still have some time. So so he's going to the Gregorian calendar. Okay, so now he's going to explain. Okay, so really, it's come out in the first month of spring, which is between the 21st of March and the 20th of April.
Pesach comes. Today's the 21st. Today's the 21st of April, and Pesach isn't until tomorrow.
That's right. Okay, so we passed. Did I say Pesach getting earlier and it's getting later? Actually, am I confused? I think I'm confused, and I confused you. Anyway, today, this year is a good example, right? Today, Pesach missed it, right?
Sorry?
Pesach missed it.
Pesach misses.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a leap year this year, which probably has something to do with it.
Right. So Pesach started after April 21st. So, and in the but in the Julian calendar, some years Pesach will start in the middle of the winter.
That's not very good.
Which is worse. Okay. Anyway, let's see what he says here. Start first. Ochim Machzor B'Chal Pesach Achrei Haviv. Nayin Beluach Bamud 154. I don't know if you have to do that right now, but because it's a very complicated luach, just numbers. Okay. V'nireh she'Machzor Rei Samach Dal Hamaskil B'Sof El V'Chamishi means at the in Al-Khamishi means in 1340. Correct? Go by years.
Okay, so with that, 1333, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about 6 lines down in the table.
It doesn't have it. It skips years. The oh no, I don't get it.
I'm looking on the left-hand side, left-hand columns.
Base Samach Test is 1333. Okay, 5093. Okay, fine. Okay, so that's Base Samach. No, Base Samach was first one. Not Base Samach Test. 1238. 1238 was 4998. That's we need Khamishi. It's 2 years off, but the first one, the very top one. Okay, that's
Okay.
his. He has that as ground zero.
Okay.
I'm not sure it's good. So, עכשיו פסח בכל שנות המחזור בתחום חודש אביב. כלומר, פסח אינו מסחר אחר 20 באפריל. אך החל ממחזור רייס המזין פסח אחרי חודש אביב ושנה השמיניס למחזור חל ב-22 באפריל. החל מחזור ראשון בייס פסח יחול אחרי פשוט גם בשנה ה-19 למחזור. החל מחזור בצד יחול פסח גם אחרי חודש אביב גם בשנה ה-11 במחזור. In other words, each cycle, more and more years, Pesach comes out after Chodesh Av. Okay, so the Lechem Marzor Shin Yud Yachol Pesach Achrei Rosh V'Gam Shana third Shalom Marzor. Ketzim Memutza Shal Achas the 216 years, average of one every 260 years. Titvasei Kol Pam Od Shana Marzor L'Shiras Shnim B'Hem Yachol Pesach Achrei Chodesh Av. The amount of times Pesach about Africa Shabib will be added on. Achrei Shana Shishis Marzor Yachol Pesach Achrei Chodesh Shabib. Canal Gam B'Shana 14, Chaim Gam B'Shana 6, 7, 17, 9, 1, 12, 4, 15, 7, 8, 18, 10, 2, 13. B'Sok Gam B'Shana, I guess the last year to go. It's a Shana Chamishis Machzor, the 5th year. Seshem Alfi, Richu Beis Yom Kufa ben 19 Shnosa Machzor. Each one is a different gap, obviously. Habayani Dona Ba'Var Michinayini, so Chabnei Bayah Masis. This used to be a theoretical question, now it's a practical question. But ask is Makusa Pesach, Michodesh Aviv, Lelach Havri, Birvos Amim, Haisedul Chazal. They knew about this problem. Avram Berachia and Nasi Shachai Mea had 12th in Yomin Chazal, but whatever. Males Ve'azaz B'Sefer Ibu Shachi Rishonas Dal Tatpag 4883. It's Yoshnas 1123. I mean, you know, this question I saw by theoretis Bilvad. It was still only a theoretical problem. And us Cholu Kol Hashem Shemazar B'Tchum Chodesh Aviv. All the years came out during spring. They said they could say before the problem becomes actual, the scalable shall go well, will be zeichet to the coming of Mashiach, by which will resolve the problem. It ain't happening. Mashiach is tarrying. They was 1815 Pesach fell with 25 April. Even later than this year. Problem arises and requires and demands quests, solutions. There ain't happening, right? Especially if a Chacham, a Maluma, Tzadik Yofa brings up a solution, it's not happening, right? So question, what do we do? So I want to tell you, I don't know what he's going to come up with, but Lubavitcher Rebbe's Chiddush, which he basically relied, even though people are not aware of it, is that, 1 second here, is that as long as Pesach is in Chodesh Av, in other words, as long as Nisan, part of Nisan, is in Aviv, we're okay. Now, in other words, as long as Nisan doesn't start any later than the 21st of April, right? As long as 1 hour of Nisan occurs before the 21st of April, right? The 20th of April, we're okay.
What's the source for that?
It says Chodesh Aviv.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's still the Chodesh Aviv. It's a tremendous Chiddush, but there's, this type of thing which maybe is right, maybe it's wrong, but okay, it helps. At least turn out, still part of Pesach comes out during the spring. That's also helpful.
Okay.
Eventually, not a Pesach will be in the spring, but now at least part of Pesach comes out. Even if Pesach comes out 25th of April, right? No, I'm sorry, it doesn't. No, then it's afterwards, right? No, it's not Chodesh. Sorry, never mind. Scratch what I just said. This year starting after Chodesh Aviv is over. So he's saying as long as some Nisan. So let's say that means since Chodesh Nisan started before April 20th, as it obviously did because it's already halfway through Nisan, so they were still okay. That's what he says. Okay. It's not the right time. Right? So before we have some, can you imagine that? Mossad Dati, which we will kubal al kol chachugim shelam.
Yeah, end of Kazakaraga.
Ain't no Baba Cheshbon. Okay, and later on it's going to bring down the Misa. I know you have to go probably to Mincha already. So
Yeah, I need to head to Mincha in just a minute. So
yeah. Okay, so we can go through some of these the reasons for the Nagdut, which are not going to be necessarily, they're not good reasons, obviously. Right? They're just mostly political reasons that nobody's going to actually be willing to be Mechadish, the Smicha, and all those things. So now we have the problem down pat. You want to come up with a solution between now and next time we learn? Go ahead.
All right.
I just want to make sure I made a mistake before. I was sounded so adamant. I was so stupid. It's Pesach is obviously getting later, not earlier, and I convinced you of my mistake, and I apologize for that.
Right, that's okay. All right. Chag Kasher B'Sameach.
Chag Kasher B'Sameach, even though it's after Chodesh Aviv. Okay, bye.
Take care.